new friends and old friends. I'm going to report you my first research project on vernacular architecture briefly today. Although I have been interested in vernacular architecture for years, this one is the first one. We at Dafuzhen in Fujian, in the central part of Fujian. Yes, yes, good, thank you. We visited the site in 2012. We found many interesting details, such as the element along the eave and the building built on platform with a wooden floor, and the terraced site with water storage, and canal stepped and zigzag. We saw many details which we do not know what and why. So we decided to closely examine them. After 2-year preparations, we returned to Dafuzhen in 2004 to carry out a joint research project with a group of students, architecture students from the Zhejiang University, to document the complex. Dafuzhen is a complex. We could see that. It's a family complex. We determined to document the complex inside and out. Our objective was to study and to discover with X-ray eye, to study the Dafuzhen, how was it built, not only as the current condition, but also how to build. Our interest was not only tangible heritage, but also intangible heritage. The rich and diverse vernacular architecture of China has been termed the essence of architecture, but it is seldom analyzed as a key to our understanding of Chinese architecture. There were two principles when I designed the project. It must be a detailed case study, a documentation in graphic and note form. Graphic is essential. We use architecture language. We make notes if we need to do that. The architecture must be understood in planning context. The Dafuzhen is a family Xiao's homestead. It was built in 1570, took more than 10 years. The social status of the Xiao was wealthy commoners, and the greed of their wealth was modest. We could see that the building consists of several parts. The middle part is a common area shared by 4 brothers. And on each side, we can see long houses, and they are used as living quarters. And also there is a private or family school in front. Besides the complex, there is a workshop, and also there were 4 watchtowers. Now 2 survived. We look at the site closely. We could see the site is a sloped site and terraces. In fact, 4 terraces in the main area was made, and upon the terraces buildings were erected. We also could see water. Water flows from the mountain through the site to the field through the 8 channels, and we could see they are all colored. The size of the canals are roughly 3 meters wide and 1 meter deep in average. The canals are stepped and sloped, carrying rainwater or storm water flowing at a certain rate and prevent without after excessive rainfall. The size of Dafuzhen is about 6,000 square meters. The building area is 3,600 square meters. We look at the size, we look at the building types, we look at the layout as a whole. We could see the common area in the middle is composed of a courtyard house. And also the school is also courtyard house. They built along the central axis, and the long houses on each side, 3 long houses or 4 long houses. In terms of a building typology, we try to determine them. In the end, what we identified is 2 types of architecture built here: courtyard architecture and the long houses here. We examine the Dafuzhen closely. We see a grid. A grid is made of integrated long houses and canals. This suggests that there exist projected units of measurement, repeated consistently in architecture and planning. That means architecture design and planning are combined in the beginning. Then we try to look at the Weiwu. We all know Tulou. Tulou is a World Heritage Site and is relatively well studied. But in the same location in Fujian, Weiwu is unknown. And we try to identify the typological development. And we could see that in the middle is courtyard, and again, long houses on each side. We try to identify the core element. We could see a courtyard, maybe 1 courtyard, maybe 2 courtyards. And then you put a long house on each side, and you enclose it at the back, and you dig a pond in front in order to get earth for construction purpose as building material. And maybe that was the typological development of Weiwu. This is our hypothesis. We look at similarities and the differences of the courtyard architecture, the main area, and the school. We could see many similarities, and also we could see the differences. For instance, the school is, we could see the school, in fact, is this part of the central area. And this part, 1 courtyard, is divided into 2 levels. And also architecturally, we could see the difference. Obvious difference is the roof ridge. The main area, the ridges are strongly curved up, and the ridges in the school are relatively flat, and also there were many, many details I have no time to discuss here. Then we look at the long houses here. We try to see again the similarities and the differences. the answers are equally important. The similarities are equally important as differences. And we could see, this is the front view. We could see 3 entrances besides the main entrance of the whole complex. This is the entrance of each longhouses. And this is the rear view, the front view facade and the rear facades. And also you could see the chimneys here. The kitchen is located at the back of the complex. We try to identify the structure, the basic structure, and how the building was composed, and also the prefabrication and the standardization. If we see similarities, that means there is a standard. And how was prefabricated, and we try to understand. We look at the service buildings, we look at longhouses, we look at the main halls. We could identify the main structure. That is the structure, is essential structure. Then you could add more on each side and with different spans. Then we look at the living quarters closely. This is Longhouse B, is the eldest brother's house. We could see the Longhouse, in fact, consists of 3 buildings. And when you look at the structure closely, you could see building 1 and 2 are one structure, but they are located on different terraces, and the roof are separated. Building 3 is detached. We look at the terrace planning, and we look at the architecture location closely, try to understand as much as we could. We could see that the canals are arranged in north-south lines and parallel to each other. The terraces are not aligned east-west, so the buildings built upon the terraces, they do not align to each other. And you can see some buildings are built across their terraces, and some halfway across the terraces, and some buildings built next to terrace. And the shape of the terrace, in fact, is a fan shape. And there is a standardization, but you could see very rich architecture characteristics, and in terms of space, in terms of height, and all details are different because the symmetrical layout and the asymmetrical layout, the drama is here. So the architectural richness was made. We also look at the architecture closely. We could see 2 types of architecture applied in Dafuzhen, in Weiwu. Very interesting. Look at the main hall. The main hall of the longhouse was erected on a platform. It's a platform. Buildings, the columns were built on the top of the platform. But the buildings, the living quarters, behind the entrance, we can see the floors are raised with timber planks. And look at the details here, amazing details. And this is only one example. There were many thousands of details worth to study. The terrace houses, they are separated by the canal, but there were bridges to link the long houses together, and the bridges are covered, roofed bridges. And in terms of structure, in terms of architecture, they are pavilion. And there were total 42 covered bridges in the Dafuzhen, and they are all different. because the buildings, the locations are all different. The height, the terrace, and all roofs are, none of them is the same. The bridges are very important, not only functioned as a bridge, but also it is used as a meeting place. And you can see ladies are here. This is quite cool, above water, and it's a common space. We look at the canal, look at the activities. It was around 200 people here from family, Xiao from 4 brothers. Now there were around 30, the population, both old and young, and middle-aged. Very young, I mean. And we could see many additional basins built along the canal. People are doing washing, and they raising their vegetables there, and kitchens is located nearby the water, and also you could see children take a shower in canal in hot summer. We were there for 2 weeks, and we eat there 3 times a day with the locals. We did interview, and we tried what we could, and we got not only 30 students, but also we have 4 staffs from different universities. And also we could see shower, additional shower for adults. And also you could see water discharge from the floor into the canal. We look at the roof, because this is a sea of roofs, and all buildings, both big and small, are all covered with tiles. All roofs are pitched, many with lean-to at gable end. Why? Why? Of course, this is a tropical climate. But why so many eaves, and they built one above the other, and systematically and logically? Must be some reason. We still remember the element built under the eaves, which bothering us for 2 years. We were eager to find out the function. And finally, we found out a gutter, bamboo gutter here. And after this discovery, we found wooden gutter, we found other gutters. Once you understand it, and you make a dialogue with the architecture. And also we saw hole here, and we would imagine that there was a vertical pipe and conduct water from the roof to the tank. We saw many tanks, and we know that the buildings at the back, they are kitchens. We saw many tanks. So we see water is very important, and the drainage design is a part of planning. And the planning goes together with architecture design. It's amazing. We pay special attention to drainage, and the students said that Qinghua asked us to pay attention to drainage, and this is the first time we were forced to pay attention to drainage, and finally we benefit from that. We saw canals open or covered, and you can see the canal not only open but also covered. One passes through the courtyard, and you can see the pipe here, and the detailed design here, and also the stone carving here. We also we made friends with the local people. This is the head of the Dafuzhen. He showed us the maintenance hole. We know manhole in architecture. That is a place to maintain and to check the infrastructure. And you see here, and this is the detail of this one, but I couldn't show you the underground channel here. And also you could see here is a diagonal, and everything with wisdom, the design. We look at the water outfall. You can see here. This is courtyard. This is canal. This is another water outfall. This is another one. And also we see at the end of the canal, before it goes out to the field, and the wooden floor can be removed in order to clean the canal. And also you can see the details here. It seems in the end, after 2 weeks, day and night, we spent there all time and discuss. And we have extra X-ray eye, and not my eye. We got 40 students and staff. It seems we understand something which we intended to understand, but not everything. Things less clear to us are many. For instance, the compound is not true north-south, little bit away from true north-south. This is intentional, obviously. And second, several buildings had their corners cut off. And I marked here. From architectural viewpoint, from functional viewpoint, we cannot interpret everything. It seems there were other explanations, for instance, feng shui theory, and this is our attempt here. We also look at the design, the intangible heritage. What was the design? Did they have any measured drawing, and what was the tool? This is gao-chi, still used here. This is a carpenter's pole. Is designed, the gao-chi was designed and used by a master carpenter. It's quite long, and it contains calibrated lines, marks, or symbols, and each group of artisans, they got their own languages. So that's why each region, they have their own architecture. We can identify the differences. After building or restoration was finished, gao-chi is put here and for future use. It's vernacular architecture, architecture without architects. Dafuzhen was designed, obviously, it was built by local artisans, and probably they were not professional, and they were also farmers. From our architectural viewpoint, the Weiwu is not only essential to knowledge, but also high quality of design and planning, technical and aesthetic sophistication. Thank you.